Blue-faced calamity travels through the Warring States period in Japan, accompanied by a group of licking dog retainers, to revive the family business in the world of True Empress book group. 46497874 keywords of the novel. Different Japanese Warring States without pop-ups, different Japanese Warring States TXT complete collection download, different Japanese Warring States latest chapters reading. Chapter 1. Seeking Help. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Seeking help. Lightning and thunder roared, and heavy rain poured down like water. Spoyi ran in a miserable state in the rain, his heart filled with desolation. This is an ordinary night, and as the eldest son of the SPO family, Yoshinobu should have stayed in a warm and comfortable room. But all of this was over. SPO, who was guarding Daicheng, was besieged. Fortunately, he trained outside the city and could only embark on the path of seeking help on a long rainy night. Wiping away the rain from her face, Iin gritted her teeth and her mind was in chaos. However, as she numbly moved forward in the direction of her body's memory, her mind couldn't stop overflowing with memories. Iin also doesn't know if he counts as a person in this world. In his previous life, he was an ordinary social animal, in his early 40s, with an ordinary job and family. I work hard every day to warm up my wife and children, and earn money to support my family. Who would have thought of a sudden car accident? On his deathbed, he could only console himself that his home mortgage had already been paid off, and the insurance for accidental death was enough for his wife, children, and mother to live for 2 lifetimes. I haven't even thought of my wife remarrying and my son changing his surname. My eyes darkened, and a new life began. This world is a bit strange, it's not my original world. At first, he didn't feel much of a baby, but as he grew older, his sense of discord grew stronger. Simply put, men in this world. That's too manly. Crying and crying, parents are short of reason and obedient. As he grew up, he began to collect intelligence from the world with great care. The world was a bit like Japan during the Warring States period, with chaos and wars raging in various places, fighting fiercely to seize the world. But what's different is that the protagonist standing in the center of the stage is a woman. Yes, this is a world where women are respected. He used to feel puzzled. How could women be the masters of the family during the cold weapon age? Men were naturally much stronger than women, and no ancient woman could possibly have it on a man's head. The reason was simple. It couldn't be defeated. The ancient society where the law of the fittest prevails is not a modern society. Without technological development to bridge the power gap between men and women, how could women possibly dominate society? It is not a matrilineal society dominated by collection in the primitive era. After a long period of observation, he finally discovered some clues. It seems that the world of male hormones in this world is different from the original world. Men all understand that certain indescribable male structures produce a large amount of androgens, which promote muscle growth. But men in this world just don't grow muscles, either they lack nutrition and are as thin as a stick, or they become muscle-dead fat after being well nourished. And the women here seem to be born with muscle growth, and exercising casually is a model of fitness in their past lives. They have long and powerful limbs, and their figures are convex and backward. What can be done in such a world, of course, is that women are superior and men are inferior. After understanding it, he felt very disappointed as a man. This is a chaotic world, with no strength to protect oneself and no sense of security. He, who was a social animal in his past life, finally regained his life. His goal in this life is only to live well, and to live well at all costs. Looking at the mole on his arm that was exactly the same as his previous life's body, he suddenly thought to himself, I may not be soul-piercing. Or give yourself a chance. Then he started. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and 10-kilometer runs every day. Until today. The sky and the earth split apart. In times of chaos, people are like grass and mustard. Reborn in the SPO family, he had already gained consciousness. Although I never played Nobunaga's Wild Hope in my past life, due to my high reputation, I have heard some familiar names such as Ashikaga, Oda, Usugi, and Takeda. The SPO family has a high social status and is a powerful member of the Ashikaga family, one of the three leaders. Even if it declines, it is still the guardian of Owari, a world-renowned sect. The bad news lies in the reputation of protecting Owari. Even those who don't play games know that Owari is a place where ordinary people can stay. Nobunaga's Wild Hope. The Taigu Aspiration Biography. The two most famous game protagonists are both Owari people, you bastard. People like me who only want to live well should not have been born here, But the SPO family is also too unpopular. The head of the family, SPO Yoshitaka, is a weak woman with a male accent. Even though she was made a puppet by Oda Nobuyuki, she dared not complain at all and retreated step by step. The family minister of the Spectrum generation has long withered, leaving only 2 or 3 kittens. Several sisters fight openly and secretly for the position of home supervisor, and what can they do without looking at the position? With only one village and fewer than 100 people, SPOEN was also desperate for them. In short, after 14 years of hard work, I finally couldn't hold on anymore. Oda Nobunaga of the Oda clan in Chinjo led a surprise attack on the Owari sanctuary. The SPO family was caught off guard, and SPO Yoshinobu in the city saw that the situation was not right. He came out with a few light kills and rushed to Chinjo city to seek help from Oda Nobunaga. I knew the name Oda Nobunaga in my previous life, and from the first day I met her, Yoshinobu was determined to join Nobunaga. We met at a young age, and childhood sweethearts were also considered to have formed a good relationship. After all, the Changjun of the SPO family, although not Changji and unable to inherit the family business, will eventually get married. However, who doesn't love the younger brother of Jayajeo, who cares about the cold and warm? For example, one day the shogunate Shogun family will also be defeated. The last generation of Shogun brothers who flatter you will ask if you are satisfied. Whether you have money or not, people live by their feelings. And the little brother of the SPO family is enough to give this female warrior from the Warring States period a feeling of 99%, and it feels particularly satisfying. The appearance of Chinjo city in the distance was already faintly visible, and Iin restrained his chaotic thoughts and carefully considered how to persuade Oda Nobunaga to send troops to rescue. This is a chaotic era, often seen in the lower and upper levels, but rarely seen in loyalty, righteousness, and filial piety. Without tangible benefits, who is willing to send troops? Once you become famous, you are not as good as a dog. Apart from being a guardian, it may be fun to flirt with your high-ranking younger brother, but when it comes to spending money, you have no mercy. The most benevolent and righteous thing is to bring you into the house and soothe your broken and wounded heart night and night. If we can survive like this, Iin will also comply. In times of chaos, it's not shabby to die and live on our own as a whole family. But I'm afraid that one day Oda Nobunaga and Oda Nobuyoshi will get along. Looking back, there is still an unstable factor in the family, so cut your head and send it to Oda Nobuyoshi. Everyone can rest assured. In this world, no one can rely on us, we still have to rely on ourselves. On the Tiensho Pavilion in Chinjo City, a tall and beautiful woman wearing a bedtime bathrobe is gazing at the faint flames in the distance. The smell of war blowing in the air makes her restless and uneasy, which is the guardian of the SPO family by Owari. Oda Nobuyoshi is really irritable. He muttered a few words, but unfortunately, he turned around and walked back to his bedroom after being the interesting young master of the SPO family. She doesn't have time to meddle in anything, her internal conflicts are about to explode. Although they all have the surname Oda, that Oda is not this Oda. The guardian of the SPO family by Owari was not lagging behind, and the guardian Dai, who was also the guardian of the samurai family, seized national power by guarding the Oda family of the two families. The head of the Oda family, Oda Nobuyoshi, under the rule of Zhang Qingzhou, enslaved the head of the SPO family, SPO Yoshitsune, as a puppet and ruled over the 4 prefectures of Lower Zhang. But this kind of thing. Can you touch the bald head of the monk, but I can't touch it. The consequence of being able to lower oneself is that everyone feels they can touch it. Oda Nobuyoshi stood out as one of the 3 followers of Oda Nobuyoshi. Relying on his own hard work of defeating the invincible hands of Owara, he forced Oda Nobuyoshi to the point where even the ancestral city of Kyushu could not be preserved. I really have to come out and pay it back sooner or later. As the successor of Oda Nobunaga's strength is much stronger than Oda Nobuyoshi's. But she is no longer able to estimate those miscellaneous matters because her sister is going to cause trouble. Her father, Yuzen Suda, has been urging Oda Nobunaga to appoint her sister Oda Nobunaga as the new head of the family. Most of the retainers also stood on her sister's side, thinking that her sister was a smart person and that she was the silly little sister Owari. The original Nobuyu Nishida is still able to resist. After the death of Nobuyu, the matter will be ugly. The Japanese warring states tradition has been conquered. How can several sisters inherit the great business of the family without dying? Besides, she has been indulging in promiscuity since childhood, and after her mother's death, she didn't know how to restrain herself. Her teacher, Ping Shou Jingxiu, was disappointed to the point of giving her a heartfelt remonstrance. So, no one would have mocked her anymore. If it weren't for marrying the young master of the Saito family in Mino province, Noken, with a strong background that made people wary, her sister would have rebelled long ago. If you have time to worry about how many more members of the SPO family can survive, why not take a good sleep with Nongjuan and think of a way to kill your sister and father in your dream, and all the ashes will be raised. Your Highness, the eldest son of the SPO family is calling at the city gate. Just as Nobunaga was about to return to the house, he heard the words of his attendant and looked back in disbelief. Shouldn't we delay reporting tomorrow morning at this time? Do you understand the rules? My lord wants to pretend to be dead, are you so efficient? Aren't you afraid to wear small shoes? I understood the indifference in Nobunaga's seductive eyes, and the servant whispered helplessly. He shouted in the city to return the crotch cloth left by the lord's last meeting. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Meeting in person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Meeting in person lying trough. An incredible expression appeared on Nobunaga's beautiful face. This Iin is ruthless enough. He has dared to conceal important matters since ancient times, but several subordinates of the master's family have figured out the sweet and charming affairs clearly. If it breaks His Highness's good deed, I'll ask you to stand in the first row next time we go out. So let's convene a meeting. Nobunaga sighed helplessly, thinking that since he had already reported it, he couldn't be mistaken for not knowing. After all, as the nominal leader of the last Zhang, if you don't know she was fired, it's okay. If you know, pretend not to know, and one day someone will find out. It's hard to say what to do with you as an excuse. The world of adults is so dull and boring. However, this is also useless, SPO's little brother. With a hint of mockery at the corner of his mouth, Nobunaga tightened his bathrobe and slowly walked towards the conference hall. SPO Iin was sitting in the conference hall of the Tianshou Pavilion in Qingzhou City, with scattered rainwater scattered on the tatami mats along his body. He saw the Oda family attendants beside him feeling heartbroken. His spine stood straight, waiting for Oda Nobunaga to summon the city's martial arts to come and discuss. It's not easy to deceive Oda Nobunaga into sending troops. On the 6th day of history, the demon king Yoshinobu was not familiar with her, but the head of the Oda Tanaka family, who had been in contact with her for so many years, was a cold and ruthless beauty who would never take action without any benefits. Although the breakout went smoothly, it also left several gunshot wounds and 2 arrow sores. Fortunately, the top quality of the body is inherited, and the light bamboo spear and bow don't have much strength. It looks scary, but in fact, the wounds left on the body are not serious. He remained silent like a sculpture, enduring even though it was uncomfortable. The SPO family, which only has noble bloodline and noble character, has nothing left. If they show timidity at this time, they will only become the laughing stock and plaything of the martial artists. These warring states warriors were all warriors with a strong desire for conquest and had gained power, but Japan's tradition of being obsessed with bloodline and family names made them envy and yearn for noble warriors. Faced with these people, begging for mercy will only be looked down upon, so be brave, cool, and be a poor and noble young master. The sliding door of the conference hall was heavily opened, and Oda Nobunaga lazily appeared in front of Yoshinobu. Opening the bathrobe on her body and extending her right arm, her crispy chest was half exposed, which was much larger than that of an ordinary woman. Scratching his back with his right hand, he comfortably squinted his beautiful eyes, his long eyelashes trembling, and looked at Iin with a smile. "Long time no see, Lord Iin. I heard you're coming to return my crotch pants. I don't remember what happened to us. Or, it's not too late for it to happen now." Nobunaga looked at Yoshinobu's body recklessly, as if choosing his favorite meat at the market. His tongue licked the corner of his mouth slightly. Iin ignored Nobunaga's eyes, adjusted his sitting angle, and leaned down from the standard dirt seat in front of Nobunaga, giving a resolute answer. "There's no such thing. It's dark and raining heavily, so the guards in the city must have misheard. Your Highness, please provide a clear warning." Nobunaga lay half down on his main seat and waved casually. "Forget it, it's not such a big deal anyway. Since that's the case, what's the matter with Lord Iin here? Oda Nobuyoshi has committed a rebellion and attacked the SPO guardianship tonight. Please send troops to rescue him. Please send troops as soon as possible." Lifting his body, he answered Oda Nobunaga's words, and Yoshinobu was once again a heavy burden. "Your Highness, absolutely not." The door of the conference hall was once again pushed open, and a brave woman walked in. Her delicate face had two sword eyebrows tightly locked together, and she eagerly bowed to Nobunaga. "Maeda Regia has met His Highness. Dog generation has arrived, sit down first and speak slowly." Nobunaga waved his hand and glanced at the kneeling Yoshihiro. "By the way, wait for others." Maeda Tashika looked at Nobunaga calmly in confusion, and loyal, she didn't say much and obediently sat down. Sure enough, Yoshinobu had long thought that Nobunaga would play this delaying strategy. Oda Nobuyoshi launched a fierce attack in the middle of the night, catching the SPO family off guard and leaving no reliable generals at home. Delaying for a while may save you from the danger, as it will cool down. Perhaps I don't understand why Nobunaga was in a hurry to summon everyone, as the city's generals came quickly one after another. Nobunaga was not supported by the important officials in his family. After his mother's death, except for Maeda Rika, who came from her own small surname, only direct officials such as Mori Kajikatsu, Hideyoshi Kawashiri, Hungshin Ikeda, and Nagahide Danyu supported him. In the conference hall, although none of these people spoke, they seemed completely uninterested in sending troops. After all, the SPO family is already a thing of the past. Years of decline have long exhausted the full potential of the SPO family. Now, except for someone from the shogunate to accompany them, there is no sense of existence on weekdays. If Oda Nobuyoshi wants to kill, just kill him. After being driven out of Chinzhou city by Nobunaga, Nobuyoshi has long been psychologically unbalanced, violent, and unpredictable. It's not bad to go crazy. When you come back to deal with her, there's no need to find excuses. It's quite useful to attack and eliminate the black spot of the SPO family. After looking at the faces of the important officials, Nobunaga nodded in satisfaction. Iin Jun, about. The SPO family is willing to be driven by His Highness and pledge allegiance. Please have mercy, Your Highness. Iin didn't wait for Nobunaga to open the meeting and decisively disrupted her. The words spoken made Nobunaga tremble with excitement, and there was already an uproar in the conference hall. This is the SPO family, a powerful and influential family, and a world-renowned family. The tiger never collapses, the shadow of a human's famous tree. In this era of observing the Double Name Festival, Iin's words have the same effect as going out to kowtow to Uncle Wang next door to acknowledge his father. The martial artists who consider their faces more important than their lives never expected that as a person from another world, Iin's values were completely different from those of people in this world. What are you saying? I didn't understand. Even the rebellious Nobunaga is now just a slightly sharp young girl, not the powerful and plump sixth-day demon king in the future. Ashikaga Shogun, Owara is guarding the SPO family and is willing to worship Oda Nobunaga as the main deity. The conference hall exploded completely, unable to suppress the sound. Nobunaga couldn't sit still on the main seat and stood up, his face uncertain. Saying that there is no interest is false, but it is the SPO family. If they can gain loyalty, they can smoothly obtain the righteousness of taking the last Zhang. Although SPO Itong is a cowardly woman, he can't fight back or scold back. But as long as it involves matters of family, fame, and character, she is not willing to back down at all, tearfully talking nonsense that cannot be done by a minister or concubine. After biting his teeth for so many years, Oda Nobuyoshi, who had a poor mentality of memorizing words, couldn't help but exterminate and kill. But this good thing that Oda Nobuyuki has been begging for many years has just fallen into his own hands. Nobunaga also dared not believe it lightly. Is this what Captain SPO means? Or is it your personal statement? This is my personal opinion. Iin calmly looked at Nobunaga, his gaze changing from hope to disappointment and eventually overflowing with anger. But no one in the SPO family would object. Iin spoke with a resolute hint of killing intent. What's the use of holding on to this family name? Can we create another glory? This false reputation can only make the incompetent younger generation brag and boast to idle people in their spare time. When is it now? Living is the most important thing. The SPO family cannot be exterminated. Nobunaga was vaguely moved, looking at Iin, who was 14 years old and still had a green face. I just realized that this guy seemed to have grown taller after a year of not seeing him, and when his eyebrows opened, he had a handsome and vigorous appearance that other men did not have. Her dark and shining eyes sparkled with a profound mystery that was incomprehensible. It is said that the eyes are the windows of the human soul, so what is Iin thinking in his heart? What a person to care about. I suddenly felt a little moved in my heart, but this matter is not something that a yellow-mouthed child can decide in a word or two. If I am deceived, I will be laughed at by someone later. Iin has been observing Nobunaga, convinced that she has indeed been moved. So, I started taking off my clothes. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Rescue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Rescue, or Send someone to investigate first, and His Highness Oda Nobuyoshi may not have been so insane and rebellious. Nobunaga was still pondering the pros and cons in his mind, and he was talking nonsense that he didn't even believe. The evidence of Oda Nobuyoshi's rebellion and attack on the Guardian Post is conclusive. I suffered several injuries during the breakout as evidence. Please have a look, Your Highness. Straightened up and sitting in the center of the conference hall, Iin began to take off his pocket in an orderly manner. In a group of stunned women watching, the white hunting clothes with blood on their bodies were torn off. The already solidified blood adhered to the fabric on the wound, and after tearing, blood flowed out again. Iin is originally a physical fitness from a different world. Although he is only 14 years old, years of exercise have made his figure quite attractive. The slender and muscular lines of the limbs, the ferocious wounds on fair skin, and the cold and emotionless fluctuations on the delicate features. The strong contrast blinded a group of warriors who were accustomed to seeing this world, either skinny or chubby, and occasionally heard a sound of swallowing saliva. The character design set by Ian for himself is to revive the warrior image of the SPO family at all costs, which is in line with the values of people in this world. Only by maintaining this persona, no matter how bizarre things he does, there will still be someone to help him brainstorm and find reasons for him, because he is too male god, too cool. To survive in this cruel and chaotic world, it is not only necessary to rely on force, but also to make people's reputation and image stand out. Compared to the days when people are arranged to marry and are left to fate, it is better to strive on your own and seize the right to choose as much as possible. As a former senior social animal, my integrity has long been lost. Any ideal career change or salary increase is all for the sake of life, not to be ashamed. Besides, just taking off one's shirt, it turns out that the world's three perspectives don't care about such things at all. It's a big deal for a man to be bare-skinned. The appearance that people around him could not control made him feel funny, but the more this time, the more he had to set up a good memorial archway and perform well. The expressionless face was filled with the sanctity of sacrifice, the straight and slightly trembling body, and the clenched fists. Kneeling upright, he looked at Nobunaga, who was not allowed to be too embarrassed compared to the people around him, expressing his determination to fulfill his promise. Those weak chickens from the SPO family, I can chop 10 of them each. Whoever opposes me will be chopped to death. Don't worry. Nobunaga never expected that in order to show sincerity, Yoshinobu could achieve this level. For a man, he has already done well enough. Breaking through at midnight, running dozens of miles for help, resolutely dedicating loyalty. The eyebrows don't give way to women, it's really embarrassing for those women in the SPO family. Unfortunately, it's a pity that he's a man. Speaking of men, Nobunaga's eyes became much hotter. It's the first time I've seen a man with such a good figure. The gunshot and arrow wounds above not only did not destroy the beauty of the body, but also the cruelty of weapons destroying beauty, making her intoxicated. Call for a doctor to heal the wounds of King Yin. K9 Chiendai, gather your troops and go out of the city to rescue the guardian. Nobunaga took off his bathrobe and flew freely with his movements on his chest. Yoshinobu quickly lowered his head to thank him, and his expression almost didn't tense. It's not that the acting skills are poor, it's just too big. The smell on the bathrobe is so imaginative. He felt a slight heat in his nose, and his young body was full of firepower. He missed the days of Panasonic and Microsoft in the community. Maeda Rika responded and rushed out of the conference hall, feeling a bit dizzy from her relatively immature appearance. As for the other generals who silently gave a negative review to Nobunaga, since the matter has ended, it has gradually dispersed. Just a mere Oda Nobunaga, there is no need for a large army to deploy. Nobunaga held Yoshinobu's hand and refused to let go. The desire in his eyes grew stronger, but Yoshinobu now had no intention of caring about it. After hastily pleading guilty, I went to Lord Tiensho and waited for the doctor. I roughly wrapped the wound, put on my backpack, and went to meet up with Rika Maeda. Time was tight. The soldiers below the city were already boiling, hastily summoning their own troops. But these ancient people were not good at night combat, and it would take some time to form a team when a group of people were chaotic for a while. Ian glanced at the sky and realized that time could no longer be delayed. Mr. Maeda. Your Highness SPO, you're welcome. A respectful bow, Toshika Maeda felt a bit restrained in the face of the polite high-ranking young master. The man in front of her still seemed to be naked in her eyes, his face suddenly turning red, and his mouth became somewhat awkward. It's a waste of time to continue like this. Lord Maeda, along with a few trusted guards, set off the already organized team. Follow-up personnel can leave a trustworthy person to continue forming the team, and then follow up. Oda Nobuyuki never expected us to come and rescue her. A sudden attack could have cut off her offensive. As long as the guardian mansion is not lost, she can only retreat after careful consideration of his words. Yoshinobu saw that Maeda Rika was easy to say and put forward his own ideas. Li Jia pondered for a moment and nodded. Call around and give orders. In a moment, a team of 30 people set off from the bottom of Qingzhou City and rushed to the SPO Guardian Mansion. A group of people walked unsteadily without horses or deliberately extinguishing torches. There is also a meaning for Oda Nobunaga to see and retreat despite difficulties, but this person is not as good as fate. His Highness SPO, look at this. The Li family looked at Iin in distress, while Iin looked coldly at the already breached Guardian Mansion in the distance. As the Guardian's Mansion puts it, it is actually just a simple village. The cities in Japan are mostly rudimentary, let alone the SPO family who have been poor for so many years. But even the most rudimentary village, can't it hold on for hours? Sibo, a group of weak chickens, look at the fire in the main hall. Mother should kill herself with sisters. Oda Nobuyoshi's subordinates are raping and plundering, enjoying the pleasure of breaking the city, while her horse Seal is still in front of the mansion, where she is. Please, Lord Maeda, follow me to kill the rebels. Oda Nobunaga must die, otherwise the character of Yoshinobu will collapse. The SPO family seems to be finished, but if Oda Nobuyuki were to just pat his butt and run away like this, Yoshinobu would become an orphan and abandoned child who everyone would bully. Without family status or strength to protect oneself, would you rather go back and become a miner for Nobunaga? We still need to take a chance, the bicycle will turn into a motorcycle. But we need to kill Oda Nobuyoshi first. A tooth for a tooth, a blood for a blood, Wei Zhang doesn't believe in tears. To be looked up to, enemies cannot stay overnight. This. His Highness Nobunaga's intention is just to ask me to rescue. Oda Nobunaga committed a heinous crime by causing chaos and attacking the Guardian family. His Highness Oda Nobunaga is well aware of his righteousness and naturally does not share the same fate as such bandits. And this is my family's borrowing of troops to annihilate it, and I will bear any responsibility with all my might anyway. The SPO family has gone extinct, and Iin is becoming more and more fluent in speaking under his name. He has become accustomed to the feeling that I am the SPO family. Maeda Rika thought that Oda Nobunaga was the head of the Oda clan, who was under the protection of Shimatsugu, and was nominally the head of Oda Nobunaga's family. Although he has been driven out of Qingzhou City, he is already a former boss who has passed away, and he has gone crazy to attack and protect. After all, he is the former boss. Maeda Rika has to worry about Oda Nobunaga's reputation. There are many things like killing the boss, but his reputation is really not good. However, since we have the reputation of the SPO family, we can simply do things once and for all to help our boss solve problems. So he nodded. After Li Jia agreed, Iin quietly approached Oda Nobuyoshi's Main with his team, but the anger in his chest grew stronger in silence. The quiet days have gone. My mother, Siboitong, is cowardly and my sisters is stupid, but that is also a good memory of my new 14 years. This dog days world, this dog days life, this dog days Oda Nobuyoshi, this day cannot be lived anymore. Whole army assault, kill them all. Iin held a sharp blade and led the charge. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. System. Oda Nobuyoshi, who looked like a mature imperial sister, sat upright on a stool, without armor on his body, only wearing a black kimono. Holding his chin in his left hand, he looked listlessly at the soldiers in the mansion who were in high spirits. The armies of the Warring States period were mostly equipped with light peasant soldiers and assigned to a few elite warriors. When light-footed soldiers were only responsible for food, they had to bring their own weapons. Don't even think about food and salaries. If there is an opportunity for looting, you will definitely seize it firmly. She felt that the anger in her heart had gradually subsided, and she also wanted to think about how to handle the aftermath. The Qingzhou Oda family, who was born under the guardianship of the Yasuji Four Commanderies, was originally a descendant of the Iwakura Oda family under the guardianship of the Yasuji Four Commanderies. In guarding the SPO family and not falling behind, he not only overthrew the legitimate Yunoda, but also established SPO Tatsunomi as a puppet, making him the undisputed leader in Owara. Unfortunately, the world was difficult and his subordinate Oda Nobuyuki rose to power, overwhelming the head of the Oda family in this generation, Oda Nobuyuki. Finally, enduring Oda Nobunaga's death, he contacted SPO Yoshitsune and wanted to kill Nobunaga at the banquet hosted by SPO Yoshitsune, in order to regain control of Shimatsugu. Unexpectedly, SPO Itong, who had been obedient to her all along, secretly told Nobunaga about this out of fear. The conspiracy did not succeed, and he was also expelled from his ancestral city of Qingzhou, making the prominent head of the Oda family in Qingzhou a laughingstock. Since then, Oda Nobuyoshi's temperament has become increasingly violent, and he kills people to vent his anger even if he doesn't like it. He always feels that others are looking down upon him. After the autumn harvest in the village these days, I have had a few more drinks and received a scolding from Nobunaga for paying taxes. I can no longer bear the hatred towards SPO Itong in my heart. Impulsively, he brought his own samurai and 50-foot soldiers to kill him. Anyway, SPO was also an outdated grasshopper. After killing to vent his anger, he found a way to push it to the passing bandits. In his mind, he was figuring out how to turn this matter around, but Oda Nobuyoshi never expected that his mischievous horse seal would point the way for his enemy. Ma'in is a thing that only daimyos with over 1,000 people going out to kill enemies will carry around. Oda Nobuyoshi, who has already passed away, is most afraid of being looked down upon by others. Wherever she goes, she carries it to show off her former dignity. This ridiculous move finally brought her fatal harm. Quietly approaching from behind, Iin shook off a bamboo spear and rushed towards Oda Nobuyoshi's horse seal. Attracted by the sound of charging from behind, he turned around and noticed dozens of warriors rushing out from behind. Cold sweat seeped out of his friend's head. I never expected anyone to come to rescue me. All the tribes have already entered the mansion, except for 3 or 5 close attendants with surnames accompanying me. Unexpectedly, a few shots were chopped to the ground. The leading tall warrior thrust a bamboo spear straight at him. In a panic, there was no time to pull out the knife, so I could only flip back from the chair and roll on the ground in a disheveled state. How could Iin let her just escape like this? Ignoring the pity for her beauty, she shot Oda Nobuyuki in front of her pale face. Nobuyuki reluctantly dodged and stabbed her on the right shoulder. Shinyo was knocked to the ground by the impact, and Iin stepped on her chest, pulled out the knife from her waist, and swung it down. The swan-like jade neck of the faithful spewed a blood arrow, forming a bloodstain on Iin's face. An electronic sound suddenly rang out in Iin's mind. First successful killing, reward killing value plus 100, but at this moment, the situation did not allow him to ponder carefully. He cut off Oda Nobuyoshi's head and used a bamboo gun to prop it up. Oda Nobuyoshi was taken by me, SPO Yoshihiro. A few light-footed soldiers who had just rushed out of the mansion lost their fighting spirit when they saw Oda Nobuyoshi's head, and fled in all directions. Maeda Rika and SPO Yoshinobu rushed inside with their people, shouting as they charged. The resistance of the SPO family in the mansion had long ended, and the light-footed men under Oda Nobuyoshi greedily carried all the valuable things in their sight into their arms, and even pulled the palace attendant aside with some audacity. The sound of clothes tearing and deep sobs ignited more people's desires, turning this place into a paradise for wild beasts. So when the reinforcements rushed in, the trusted soldiers couldn't resist at all, and they ran away or took other paths with the stolen soft tissues or climbed over the wall. Only a few samurai soldiers rushed over and were surrounded and killed by the crowd. Quickly, the Guardian Mansion, which was engulfed in flames and corpses, was taken back. Hurry up and put out the fire. Maeda Rika greeted the following team, and Yoshinobu walked indifferently towards the inside. The Lee family looked at his back with a hint of concern, unsure if he could hold on to the tragic fate of his family's downfall. Ian followed his body's instincts and walked towards the main hall, which was the place where the head of the family discussed and greeted guests, as well as the place where most warriors left their last dignity for self-harm. Unexpectedly, it turned into a flame, and the main beam had collapsed. The flame could not be extinguished for a moment. For a moment, he felt a bit sad because of the memories of his past life and the different values that made him never truly integrate into this world. Whether it's the first murder or being exterminated and slaughtered. He thinks more about his own safety and future, without thinking too much about the other members of the family. Perhaps this world is just a VR game for him, it's just too realistic and cruel. The emergence of the system made him more indifferent and reckless towards everything in this world, and Ian clicked on the newly appeared system menu in his mind. The killing system has been activated. Killing one is a crime, slaughtering 10,000 is a crime. If you slaughter 9 million, you are the male among the male. Please make every effort to kill and achieve success as soon as possible. Killing value. 100 host. Spoy silver title. The eldest son of the SPO family, charm +1, strength. 5. Teacher Chiyu's training method makes your strength as strong as that of a woman, friendly reminder, even better for those who are bald, agility. 4. Wild boars are only slightly more agile than you, intelligence. 6. Your past life experiences give you an ordinary level of self-awareness that most people don't have, charm. 8. Can eat with face, +1, eats very full, the system may be late, but it will never be absent. Just a rough glance, a slight sound came from the side of the body. Ian was vigilant and pulled out the knife. Who's there? Come out. Lord Ian, yes. Yes. We. 2 trembling figures supporting each other emerged from the remaining tiles behind the main hall, and Ian carefully identified them through the firelight. Yang Nai. Shui Nai. Trembling and trembling, the 2 girls knelt down towards Ian. These are 2 children from the SPO family. The SPO family's declining territory is only left in a small village near the Guardian Mansion, with 7 or 8 households. These are the 2 children who starved to death in the village a few years ago. Due to their beautiful appearance, they have been raised at home since childhood, and their purpose is naturally to serve as slaves for generations. Although it may sound cruel, if it weren't for the SPO family, they would have starved to death long ago. Ian carefully recalled that the 2 girls should be 1 or 2 years older than him, and his sister Yang was 1 year older than his sister Shui. Are you okay? It's okay, but everyone is dead. As if greatly stimulated, Yang cried loudly in fear. And my younger sister Shui's expression was dull, her beautiful eyes widened and she couldn't say anything, even forgetting to cry, as if she had already exhausted all her strength while standing. At least you're still alive. Ian turned around and continued to look at the burning main hall. Lord Ian, from now on. Just smile. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Summoning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Summoning, Smile. I completely didn't understand Ian's brain circuit, and Yang Na's crying became much quieter due to thinking. For the sake of the SPO family, you must learn to smile, no matter what you face, you must face it with a smile. Yang Na, who had been loyal to the SPO family's education for many years, listened to Ian's words and looked at his sister who was stunned by fear behind him, making an effort to make a smiling expression. Is that enough? In his mind, he was constantly thinking about the system, while Ian's mouth spoke rambling words and a few casual words created a twisted psychological abnormality. This night has passed. Shortly after dawn, Maeda Toshika, who had extinguished the fire, came to bid farewell and left a pile of broken bricks and tiles on the ground for Yoshinobu. After counting the number of people at home, there were only a few left. Ian casually appointed Yang Nai, who had gradually solidified his smile, to temporarily lead the cleaning of his home and go out to work with the remaining servants. I found a leftover room and lay down, covered it with tatami mats, and fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up, I found that I was too tired and forgot to take off my hood, which made my flesh ache. However, I have gained some mental energy. It seems that the sky outside has turned white, and I don't know how long it has been. Stepping out of the room, Snow, who was kneeling at the door, quickly fell to the ground. Lord Ian. Although her face was still cold and expressionless, at least she seemed to have regained a lot of energy. Ian waved casually. "Where's Yang Na? Tell her to come see me." With a loud shout, Shu and I hurriedly went to find Lai Yang Nai. Looking at the girl who had already turned into a bright smile, Ian felt a chill behind her. "How is the situation at home?" "The remains of the head of the household and all the concubines have been found and temporarily stored in another room. The house has also been cleaned, but there are not many rooms left. Most of the servants were killed, except for me, Snow, and 5 maids who survived. But those few maids, they took it a bit scared. It may not be of any use temporarily," Yang said, and Ian nodded. "The SPO family, which was slaughtered and turned X, has not survived a single samurai. It is fortunate to have 2 women, 5 men, and 7 servants to stay." "What about the financial provisions at home?" "I just finished the autumn harvest, but the grain has not been returned to the warehouse in the mansion. Except for a few bulky gold and bronze objects and antiques, all the money has been looted. Thank you for your hard work. Prepare some food for me." Chaoyang nodded, her performance exceeding Ian's imagination. Having experienced this kind of thing, one can still manage the situation at home in a short period of time. This is a useful talent, although it's a bit abnormal to keep smiling. Yoshinobu thought about his current situation and realized that the SPO family was equivalent to extermination, and his promise to Oda Nobunaga had no basis for implementation. If you don't do something, looking at Nobunaga's appearance yesterday, you can't escape the rhythm of a hidden lord in a golden house. Compared to this, the problem at home is still a small matter. Although the Guardian Mansion has been destroyed for the most part, the remaining 8 people only need a small courtyard to live, and the dilapidated areas can be sorted and piled up. If you don't look good on face, then you won't look good. Grain is the most important thing. Only with food can people's hearts be stable, and grain should be brought back to the warehouse earlier. The SPO family was appointed as the guardian of Owari by the shogunate, and although they suffered a complete defeat, they still left behind a village as a source of information. In ancient times, this village was considered the last stronghold of the SPO family, as it valued the local party the most. Although there are only about 50 households, the land tax revenue has never been less than that of the protectorate, and SPO Itong is not a greedy person. 4 officials and 6 people are considered benevolent governance in times of chaos. Ashikaga can pull out dozens of people. If it weren't for Oda Nobuyuki's night raid, the Guardian Mansion wouldn't have been so easily breached. Tomorrow, go to Oda Nobuyoshi's village to retrieve the stolen property. The head of the family has died, and the Oda clan in Qingzhou must be in great fear now. There are enough organized 10 people to roam the countryside. After thinking about the follow-up, a little relieved Ian ate the rice and vegetable roll and clear water provided by Yang Nai, while Yang Naishue waited on him attentively, enjoying a moment of peace. At this moment, a servant man from outside came in to report that Maeda's family had arrived. Lord Maeda has worked hard. Does His Highness Oda have any instructions? Himeji Samurai Maeda Rika had an indescribable expression on his face, and Yoshinobu barely had a hint of enlightenment in his heart. That, Lord SPO. Don't be polite, Lord Maeda. You are a benefactor of my SPO family, just call me Yoshihiro. Looking at the clear and handsome young man in front of him, Li Jia nodded with a slight liking in his heart. So, Ian Jun can also call me Li Jia. This time, Your Highness asked me to take the head of Oda Nobuyoshi, who was taken by Ian Jun. His Highness has ordered that Oda Nobuyoshi's crime of causing trouble is unforgivable, and he will show his head to the public. The head of the legitimate branch of the Oda clan in Qingzhou was beheaded, and the military service was incorporated into the Oda family. Also, Your Highness has instructed you to visit Qingzhou city again today and hold a candlelight conversation about the arrangements for the future of the SPO family. Li Jia lowered his head and asked a young man to talk to Oda Nobunaga about things at night. What can he talk about? How to talk about it? Where to talk? As soon as the SPO family was destroyed, they brought disaster to their young masters. This is also too. No wonder the loyal and straightforwardly family couldn't say it. However, Yoshinobu had no idea about this matter at all. Even if he did, he might still have more sexual interest than Oda Nobunaga. What he lamented now was that he couldn't get his money back. Oda Nobunaga's speed was very fast, and he received a report from Maeda Rika, knowing that Oda Nobunaga had passed away. The first step was to incorporate the territory and population of the faithful, which was a standard action of a greedy warring state's daimyo. Yoshihiro, who was one step late, could only watch as Oda Nobunaga packed everything for Oda Nobuyoshi. The property looted by his trusted followers may have been handed over to the warehouse and become the material for Nobunaga to launch the next war. His Highness Oda is really considerate. Just because Iin doesn't care doesn't mean others don't care. Yang Nai, who was standing by, sarcastically said with a smile on his face. Snow beside her remained expressionless and clenched her fist. Dare, what is your identity? How dare you discuss your highness? Li Jia's face changed greatly, and he drew out a sword and placed it on Yang Nai's neck. The division between the upper and lower levels in the Warring States period was very strict, and martial arts families could have their own words and hidden needles. But ordinary Chinese people are not worthy of talking to samurai adults. Walking on the road, if they don't like you, they will kill you in vain. Moreover, it is even more unbearable for the servants at home to interrupt. Yang's neck trembled with fear from the cold edge of the knife, but she didn't want to give up. Her loyalty to the SPO family was engraved in her bones. The SPO family only had Yoshinobu left, and Oda Nobunaga's behavior made her feel ashamed. Li Jiaji, please put down your knife, I'll go with you later. Iin, who had just realized, quickly separated Yang Nai and hugged the Li family who had drawn his sword. Both of them were not wearing armor, and in physical contact, Li Jia's heart shook as he dodged Yin's hand. This is the young man that His Highness is interested in, so you cannot touch him recklessly. Yang Na apologized to Lord Xiangtian quickly. Under the stern command of Iin, Yang Nai knelt down to the lower earth seat. The young lady is impolite. Please forgive me, Lord Maeda. Forget it. Hey. For the sake of Lord Iin. The Li family, who knew that their own highness was in trouble, didn't want to cause any more trouble. Iin asked him to wait a moment and took Yang Naishue to the back to change clothes. Oda Nobunaga's matter will eventually be resolved. Since she is so impatient, Yoshihiro doesn't care either. Anyway, in terms of his value, men are not at a disadvantage. However, since we're going, we need to tidy up properly. Either don't do it, if you want to do it, you have to be the best duck in the Warring States period. Yang Na, are the makeup materials and Wu Fu at home still there? All of them are still here, Lord Iin. Do you really want to? Although still wearing a smile, Yang Na's eyes were already icy cold. It's too cruel. It's only been less than a day since the family was destroyed, and Lord Iin has to go and serve people with lust. What's going on in this world? Why treat such a beautiful young man like Iin so cruelly? Snow on the side suddenly grabbed Yin's hem. Lord Iin, let's escape. Iin looked at Xue Na in surprise, the girl who had been silent all along. The loyalty in her eyes is not inferior to that of Yanaga. Everything is for the SPO family. Faced with their infinite loyalty, Iin performed a holy expression. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Repayment. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6 Repayment. I changed into a white wu uniform and combed my long hair behind me. Rouge, water, powder, nose shadow, and eyebrows gradually depict a chaotic young master with red lips and white teeth on the bronze mirror. Glancing at one's own attributes. Charm +8, can rely on face to eat, +1, SPO's legitimate eldest son, +2, before being smeared with makeup remover, you are the most beautiful guy on this street, very good. Let's go. Turning around, she said a word to Yang Naishue and walked out. The two women behind her were still immersed in the beauty of the little fresh meat, and woke up in shock before following up. Along the way, Maeda Rika lowered his head and dared not look at Yoshinobu's face. Two beautiful things always make people feel ashamed and afraid to desecrate them, let alone carrying such an awkward mission. When the whole family just passed away, you came to pick up a favor for your boss. Li Jia is also a person who values face, secretly thinking that in the future, don't forget to compensate this wealthy man who has suffered a lot. This time, Maeda Rika is riding a horse. The SPO family was in chaos all night last night, but fortunately the stable was not affected. They have a wooden horse that they keep. Japanese horses are short, only 1 meter tall, and the wooden horse with a height of 1.2-1.3 meters is already considered a good horse. Iin, who is still developing at the age of 14 and is over 1.6 meters tall, appears tall among Japan's generally short stature of 1.5 meters. Maeda Rika is also over 1.6 meters tall, but unfortunately his horses are average. The two of them rode side by side, resulting in Yoshinobu half being shorter. The two of them walked slowly forward, followed by two followers of Yanaga Yukino and two samurai warriors from the Maeda family. Maeda Rika had a loyal personality and felt it inconvenient to speak at this moment. Yoshihida's character was also inconvenient to speak, so the two walked silently. The sun went west, and Iin returned to the bottom of Qingzhou City once again. Your Highness is waiting for you at the Tianshou Pavilion, Lord Iin. Please go as soon as possible and do not let your Highness wait for too long. Leaving this sentence, Maeda Tashika hastily bid farewell. Iin smiled and waved in the direction he was leaving, and Li Jia nodded as he turned around. Snow on the horse's side suddenly snorted, and then Iin said to the two women with a serious expression. After entering the Tianshou Pavilion, you are not allowed to speak recklessly. His Highness Oda is not Lord Maeda, he will really die. But, Lord Iin, you are too wronged. Yang Na still had a faint smile on his face, with a slight choking in his throat. The SPO family cannot be destroyed, this is my responsibility and also my wish. I need you, you must leave behind useful bodies to help me revive the SPO family. No matter what happens next, you must firmly remember that all these sacrifices are for what Iin spoke words that made Yang Naishue shed tears, but his mind remembered Oda Nobunaga's domineering weapons. His heart shook and his body felt a little feverish. Your Excellency Tian shows tea room, Oda Nobunaga has been waiting for a long time. Oda Nobunaga, who has been rebellious and domineering since childhood, always tries his best to get what he wants. Although I have had some contact with the SPO family in the past and have met Iin many times, last night's Iin was different. If the previous Iin was just a noble peony cherished by the SPO family, then last night he was the most brilliant red rose blooming in the wind and rain. Even though I knew I would be stabbed with blood, I couldn't help but want to take it off. Why is dog Qiandai so slow? The impatient Nobunaga couldn't help but curse. Fujiki, get out of here. Your Highness, I am here. The girl who hurriedly ran out of the corner and knelt down lowered her head to the ground, graceful like a boy. This was a servant who served Nobunaga wearing shoes. Go out and see if anyone has arrived. Hi. Knowing who His Highness was waiting for, he hurriedly walked out. That is the legitimate son of the noble guardian family, a man that Ting-ji couldn't even imagine. As long as I work hard and strive, will one day. No. What do you think, Fuji? With a desire for nobility and a feeling of inferiority, Fuji is just a servant working hard to warm Nobunaga's shoes. As soon as I arrived at the door, a young man walked in from outside. Fujichi stared at him in amazement, his mind blank. How could there be such a beautiful man in the world, with slender limbs, tall figure, sword eyebrows and starry eyes, fair and translucent skin, making Ting-ji's mouth almost drool. Hey, my saliva is going to stay. Ian looked at the beautiful girl in front of him and said with a smile. Yang Nai behind him pursed his mouth, afraid to speak due to Yin's education just now, otherwise he would have spoken out and scolded long ago. Is it young Master SPO? Well. His Highness is inside, and I'll show you the way. I secretly cursed myself for being foolish. Your Highness is not waiting for such a stunning appearance. Who else could it be? Hurry up and lead the way ahead. Passing through the courtyard, Oda Nobunaga saw Yoshinobu's appearance and his eyes lit up. He crossed his waist and said. Jun, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Come and come. Yes, Your Highness. With a glance at Xue Niang behind him, took off his shoes and walked onto the tatami in the tea room. Yang Naishua glanced at each other and watched with grief as the hospitable Fujiki closed the sliding door of the tea room. At the moment when the doors closed, looked back and left them with a brilliant smile. The indelible sadness and helplessness are deeply imprinted in the hearts of the two women, making them never forget their smiles for the rest of their lives. Ting-ji closed the door enviously, and the wildfire in his heart seemed to be piled with countless dry firewood and dry grass, burning fiercely. I must become a samurai, a great samurai. Oda Nobunaga, who was inside the door, had no mood to pay attention to the thoughts of the three women outside. Faced with Yoshinobu dressed up in full attire, she only had one thought left. Yoshihiro, please be on a day of mourning. I never expected that Oda Nobuyoshi would do such a rebellious thing. I dare not. Ian would also like to thank His Highness Oda for his help. If it weren't for His Highness Oda's timely deployment of troops to assist, I don't know how long these evil thieves would have been at large before they would have been executed. The two of them politely chatted a few words, and Oda Nobunaga eagerly grabbed Yoshinobu's hand. Now that the SPO family's door is shattered, I don't know what Jun's next plan is. I am willing to do my best to take care of your life and prevent you from suffering more harm. What do you think? Gently broke free from Nobunaga's slender and fair fingers, and Oda's smile froze. Your Highness, yesterday promised His Highness the loyalty of the SPO family to the Oda family. All the concubines under the current head of the SPO family have died in the rebellion of the rebel Oda Nobuyoshi. The SPO family is in decline, and it is feared that they will not be able to give His Highness the title he needs. I come here to plead guilty. Knelt down with a holy face in front of Oda Nobunaga, making her heart itch with excitement. Regardless of whether Oda Nobunaga is being brainwashed or not, Yoshinobu has to get down to business first. The SPO family no longer has women to inherit the family business, which is equivalent to extermination in this chaotic era. The charter ticket previously given to Oda Nobunaga was completely ruined. If we don't explain this clearly in advance, we won't be able to explain which day we will open up the old case. Don't think Nobunaga's current seductive appearance is easy to deceive. The Warring States period daimyo is not a ruthless character who is decisive in killing and attacking. When needed one day, the person next to the pillow will cut it off, let alone the do-love relationship of who has no official status. Supporting and guarding is our duty as martial artists. I was about to say a few words about the scene, and Oda Nobunaga's beautiful apricot pupils were wide open. Because in front of her once again took off in front of her. I took off my Wu uniform. Has nothing to repay, only a pure and innocent body. Please appreciate it, Your Highness Oda. It's getting late, and outside the tea room, it's getting windy. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Oath. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Othein, who suddenly faced tremendous changes, actually felt a lot of pressure in his heart, and the unknown future was annoying. Coincidentally, Oda Nobunaga wants it, so I'll give it to you and release my pressure. Oda Nobunaga was overjoyed. Although he was confused when he came up, he came back to his senses and of course, he had a great time. The three women outside the door didn't know what was happening inside, only heard various noisy collisions. His Highness Oda really doesn't care about fragrance and jade. By the time Yoshinobu was satisfied and stopped, Oda Nobunaga had turned the beach into a pile of mud. Sure enough, my body has improved a lot compared to my previous life, and I have become a one-night 10-time man that I never achieved in my previous life. Taking a deep breath, Iin sat up. It's already late at night outside, and today the weather is very good without clouds. The paper door cannot stop the moonlight from splashing on Iin, and the reflection is like a line. Iin June is truly unexpected. Perfect. The Himeji samurai in this world is really in good health, and Oda Nobunaga took a moment to relax and sat up. I didn't think Iin was an ordinary man before, but I didn't expect him to be so special. That kind of holy appearance. Intrinsically indescribable. Special. So, Lord Iin, will you stay in Qingzhou City? Sorry, Your Highness. Please lend me the small handle. Oda Nobunaga gave him a charming glance. Although he didn't know what he was going to do, the two of them still put on their jackets and opened the door. The special smell inside the door made the three women outside unconsciously lower their heads and not mention their worries. Fujiki, bring my knife over. Fujichi looked up puzzled, but accustomed to obedience, she obediently took off Oda Nobunaga's samurai sword from a nearby rack. Yoshihiro nodded to Oda Nobunaga in gratitude, took off the small handle from the scabbard, rolled up his long hair, and cut it towards the moonlight. Iin has long disliked the trouble of having long hair, but short hair is still comfortable. Lord Iin. Lord Iin. Due to his decisive actions, Oda Nobunaga couldn't stop him in time, and his jet black hair had already drifted in the air with the wind. Young Nishua on the side couldn't help but cry out, and Fujiki stared blankly, completely unaware of what had happened. A branch of the Ashikaga clan of the Genji clan in the Qing dynasty, guarded by the hereditary Owari clan. It is a descendant of the shogunate's shogunate leader, and the legitimate son of the shogunate, the shogun Yoshihito. Today I pray to the bright moon, causing me to suffer 7 hardships and 8 hardships. I will revive the SPO family and restore their former glory. Oda Nobunaga looked at Yoshinobu, who had sworn under the moonlight, and his slightly immature face was filled with a resolute and fearless sense of divinity. I'm sorry, Your Highness. I will temporarily serve as the head of the SPO family to prevent the name of the SPO family from sinking. I hope Your Highness accepts the loyalty of the SPO family. Yin's abacus is very good. Currently, there are no female servants in the SPO family, and he can boast about inheriting the SPO family. But this SPO family is no longer the peace family, and there may not be a few people willing to buy it, as Oda Nobunaga's previous investment was in vain. He first repaid Oda Nobunaga's rescue kindness with a one-night stand, so that she could not cause trouble with it in the future. An orphan of the noble SPO family, repaying the kindness of the rescue with her innocent body. You, a great woman, still have to haggle over how many martial arts families shamelessly associate with you. Then show a clear attitude and won't do anything small for you. Although I am not the widely recognized SPO family, it seems a bit unreasonable for men to be in charge. But in special circumstances and special measures, I have already pledged my loyalty to you. Don't worry about the small business of the SPO family. I will definitely go to the battle that needs to be fought, and I will not be short of the military supplies and labor that need to be paid. Otherwise, how can we revive our family business? Just hold your nose and let me go." This turn of the hand was both fierce and steady, making it difficult for Oda Nobunaga, who had always thought he was not bound by worldly affairs, to go too far. Oda Nobunaga, who had a face full of ups and downs, felt that there was a mouthful of old blood in his heart that could not be sprayed out, causing him to panic. But she can afford it and let it go. Since she has reached this point, if she continues to push it, it will lead to a burning end for both Jade and Stone. Upon reflection, this young man was indeed different from other men in the world. Not only was that thing so fierce, but it was also so ruthless. This is equivalent to becoming a monk. It's tough and spicy enough, I like it. Humph, we have a long way to go. I accept your loyalty, and I won't touch you with the 1,500 stones from the SPO family. But your SPO family can no longer be considered a guardian family. Be a Chinese under the Oda family, as long as you do your job well, I'll give you the opportunity to revive the SPO family. In the end, the ambition of the daimyo of the warring states period overshadowed his lustful desires, and Oda Nobunaga tightly wrapped himself in his clothes. Looking at the horizon, it's almost daybreak. This Iin is indeed strong enough, there will always be a chance. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Iin knelt down deeply and finally felt a little relieved. After a series of twists and turns, the village's storage center was finally saved, and as expected, the aura of protection was lost, which is already clear. The SPO family has been hereditary guardians for 100 years. Although they no longer have the strength, it is a very eye-catching presence for any ambitious family who wants to unify Owari. As long as you, SPO, are still here, we can only act as traitors to the emperor and make the princes rebellious. So no matter which weaving field gains power, we must suppress SPO and suppress him until we die. This time, Oda Nobunaga's shadow may not be absent from Oda Nobunaga's actions. Iin dare not think or ask about this matter. This is fate. In times of chaos, having no strength is like a 3-year-old child carrying gold across the street. You can't die. So the fate of the SPO family is destined to die, the only difference is how they die. Iin never thought of saving the SPO family, all he wanted to save was himself. The current result is very good. The SPO family has died, and the shadows on everyone's heads have dissipated. There will no longer be anyone specifically targeting them. Of course, there will still be normal struggles, but with this romantic relationship with Oda Nobunaga, others should also consider before taking action, as there will be fewer deaths. The property of the SPO family has not been lost, even though the Guardian Mansion is already rotten. If it's rotten, we can't keep this eye-catching village. In times of chaos, we need to keep food, weapons, and people. This makes the former Guardian's Mansion, which the rulers are concerned about, go back and not repair it. It's just so bad and reassuring. The important thing is that the 1,500 stone material has been preserved, 1,500 stones. Although the SPO family has declined, the rotten ship is also a thorn in the side. Oda Nobunaga has inherited 270,000 koku from Owara Shimonoseki, but his sister does not listen to him. Almost all the retainers of Pu Dai had high hopes for her younger sister. Their subordinates were only 50,000 koku in direct command, and the total number of martial arts families willing to listen to her was only 30,000 to 50,000 koku. That is to say, Oda Nobunaga can mobilize only 108,000 koku of strength. And SPO-in alone has 1,500 stones. 4 officials and 6 civilians received 600 stones, and there are about 50 households in the village, each with 3 generations and about 10 people, with a population of about 500. This strength is not in the eyes of advanced martial artists, but it is enough to make the Chinese people who have fought for several lifetimes envious. Satisfied, Yoshihiro praised Oda Nobunaga a few nice words and left the tea room in the darkness before dawn. Oda Nobunaga also didn't want to promote it, as taking advantage of someone's situation was not very pleasant to hear. And it was Fujitsu who sent the three of Yoshinobu out, no more heavy and sorrowful than the two women around him. Yoshinobu's mood was very good. Tenji, are you really the shoe-picking servant of His Highness Oda? Yes, I dare not deceive Lord Spo. Iin looked at Fujitsu Kiyoshi's beautiful face. Although she was short and thin, she was really cute. Unfortunately. Fujitsu looked at Yoshinobu inexplicably, completely unaware of what he was regretting. Does Lord Yoshinobu think I am very talented and it's a pity to be a servant? Fujitsu secretly made up his mind, hesitating whether to marry the only son of Lord Uchiha and become a member of the Uchiha family. Because he is afraid of being looked down upon by others, and Lord Kishida is just a low-level samurai. Now she has made up her mind to agree when she goes back. Inheriting the Uchiha family and becoming a samurai is always more hopeful than being a servant. Can you change your name? A delicate girl like you, named Hideyoshi, what do you think? Before parting ways, Iin made a joke and rode away with Yang Naishue, leaving Tenji stunned and unsure of what he was thinking. Yang Nai, Shuenai, and I will go back first. You stay in Qingzhou City for a few days. As he walked away, Iin whispered to Yang Nai. Please give orders, sir. I'll leave you 101. I'll be drinking at a tavern in the town these days, and I'll pass on the news of my loss last night, His Highness Oda, and the oath I made under the moon. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Post-Fear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Post-Fear, Spread It Out. The intelligent Yang Na quickly reacted. Are you afraid that His Highness Oda will back out? Yes, only a few of us know about last night's incident. It would be too dangerous if His Highness Oda had a sense of regret. This can be beneficial for your reputation. Go ahead and do it, for the sake of the last territory of the SPO family, there can't be any mishaps in this matter. I will do this well, but it just desecrates the name of Lord Iin. It's really. You go ahead and do it, don't worry about anything else. I can only trust you to handle this matter. Reaching out and patting Yang Na's shoulder, Iin said seriously. He only has Xuanai and Yang Nai under his command now, and Xuanai is quiet. This matter can only be entrusted to Yang Nai. Iin doesn't care about fame and integrity, he only has the skin of SPO Yitzi left now. If possible, he certainly wants to save up and add some extra benefits when he goes out for trading next time. But he couldn't help but think less about it. The temptation of 1,500 stones is too great. Although Oda Nobunaga inherited a territory of 270,000 koku in Shimatsugu, the Oda family was not his own. He was a brother, uncle, and vassal. His own direct collar is only 50,000 yuan, which is also an embarrassing situation for the famous Warring States period. Although he is often a daimyo with hundreds of thousands of stones, most of his straight collars are only 1/3 or quarter. When encountering something, we need to have a meeting to discuss it. A powerful daimyo with high reputation can be decisive, but everyone will die. Your daughter can't hold down her subordinates without your prestige, good luck is overshadowed, and bad luck is the rhythm of downplaying. Oda Nobunaga is unlucky and lacks prestige. He doesn't have many direct leads, and his younger sister Oda Nobunaga is watching closely, ready to pull her down at any time. Being able to earn a little more capital at this time may be a life-saving advantage in the future. What is the attire of SPO's retainers? At most, they are all members of a country under their command, and they don't pay much money or food in peacetime. They follow in waving flags and shouting during wartime. If the direct collection is taken back, the 4 public and 6 people will have a solid grain of 600 stones. Don't think that a 50,000 stone direct collar looks down on a 600 stone grain. 50,000 stones is the harvest, and the annual mobilization force is about 10,000 stones and 300 people. 50,000 stones is equivalent to 1,500 light feet. The 4 dukes and 6 commoners of 50,000 koku receive 20,000 koku in real income, and a low-level samurai's annual salary was 30 koku and 15 guanxian. The land in Weijiang is fertile, and 2 stones of grain is about the same amount as usual, which means 60 stones. 20,000 stones can only raise less than 300 G warriors. G warriors cannot all be low-level, and 60 stones is the bottom price. A bit brainy, loyal and reliable enough to fight, do you want to pay more? So 50,000 stones can only support 1,500 light warriors or 300 warriors. If you see clearly, you can only choose one of 50,000 stones. The harvest is not static, and in the event of natural or man-made disasters, it has reduced production and become a crop failure. If there are soldiers and armor, I can go to the neighboring village, county, or country to rob them of their food. I can only survive by starving others. So every warlord in the Warring States period was full of military prowess, so all 66 countries in the world suffered greatly. Therefore, in times of chaos, people are not as good as Taiping dogs. And not all of it can be used to recruit soldiers. Should we have military equipment when fighting? Which can be lacking in bows, arrows, swords, guns, horses, and iron cannons. Do you want food for the army and horses before they move? Will rewards be given if you win, and will compensation be given if you lose? We can't just give our ancestral land as knowledge and action every time we fight, can we? In that case, we can't afford to have less gold, silver, and copper coins, can we? Do you think Oda Nobunaga needs the 1,500 stones from the SPO family? The 1,500 stones of the SPO family have been transformed into direct leaders who can raise an additional 10 samurai warriors every year. Do you think Oda Nobunaga feels sorry or not? Perhaps now I have regretted it with a head snatch. If greed arises in the heart and evil arises from the gallbladder, let's assume that things that no one knows have never happened. Iin did all of this in vain, of course, certain things. Having a good time is truly having a good time. So Iin had no choice but to take action first and nail this matter to death. As for one's own reputation and integrity, I don't care anymore, I'm not planning to get married anyway. At most, I'll be pointed at by others when I go out. It's okay, my values are different and I'm not influenced by people in your world. Understanding Yi Yin's concerns, Yang Nai accepted the task with a complex expression. Although she didn't want Yi Yin to be the talk of love in everyone's spare time from the bottom of her heart, she didn't want Yi Yin to take away the SPO family property that was protected by him as a tiger. With a heavy expression on his face, Yanaga was ordered to leave, while Yukino remained with his poker face, as if he had not heard what the two were talking about. The two continued on their journey home. Yi Yin returned to the home of SPO with Xuena. Exhausted, he decided to go to bed first. Even if he had a good body, 10 times a night would be tiring. Snow went down and ordered the maid to cook, then returned to Yi Yin's room and silently gazed at the paper sliding door, accompanying him across the door. Snow, you should go rest too. Yi Yin slept under the blanket, looking at Xuenai's shadow outside the door. Lord Yin, I'm not tired. How come you're not tired? You haven't had a good rest these days, have you? What do I count as compared to the sacrifice of Lord Silver in the uprising? Staring through the door and unable to sleep, Yi Yin sat up helplessly and pushed open the door. Xue looked at Yi Yin wearing a silky robe, and the flying clouds on her cheeks lowered her head. Yi Yin was attracted by her beautiful and shy face, and couldn't help but kiss her. Snow, who was kissed, panicked and retreated to kneel on the ground. Sir, what's wrong with you? Sir. Yoshinobu whispered something bad, and after having sex with Oda Nobunaga, he suddenly confiscated it and became frivolous. It's not easy to deceive now. I had to grit my head and activate the Huyo mode, my face becoming solemn and low. Snow, actually I'm very scared. Your Excellency. Shui looked at Yi-in with a silly and cute expression, her head blank after being kissed by him. I was kissed by Lord Yin. How could an adult do such a disrespectful act? Was it the excitement of last night? Silver Teeth lightly bit her lower lip, and she couldn't help feeling sad for Yi-in. Although he was a good young master in the chaotic world, he had to use his body to save his family by serving others with lust due to the tragic situation at home. I am very afraid of not being able to hold on to the family business of the SPO family, afraid of not being able to fulfill the mission of reviving the SPO family. The current SPO family no longer has a woman. Although the village has been preserved, I am worried that the women in the village may not be willing to obey the instructions of a man like me. I am willing to become an adult woman. Xuanai looked at Yi Yin's portrayal of weakness and helplessness, blurting out that she had said the wrong thing. No, please forgive me, sir. What I mean is that I am willing to go through fire and water for the revival of the SPO family, and die later. Thank you, Snow. SPO looked at Snow with affection and reached out to grab her little hand. Snow's face turned red with excitement, no longer the usual cold expression. Previously, Yi Yin's sudden kiss became a bond of loyalty between the two. Done, thinking of fooling Yi Yin who had passed, he looked at Xue Na with joy. The two sisters look alike, but it seems that Yang Nai is much more ferocious. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Research. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Research. After teasing Xue Na, Yi Yin was in a good mood and decided to take a few days off. After Yang Na returned, he went to the village to retrieve the autumn harvest grain. The village is not far from the SPO family and is clustered along a stream to form a natural village, not far downstream of the SPO family's guardian mansion. Its name is Shitsuan. Generally, Chinese villages are named after the land in the village, such as Xintianzhuang in Oda village. Perhaps because they felt that their ancestral business had been lost too much, the shameless SPO family did not request the village to be called SPO village. Because it is surrounded by a stream, it is simply called Shitsuan. Harvest twice a year, harvest wheat in summer and rice in autumn. It's not long after the autumn harvest now. According to the rules, some village women should come to the guardian's mansion to pay their respects and ask the supervisor of the SPO family to send someone to pull the grain into storage. There are not so many warehouses in the village to store grain, and there are also things to cover it outside. But over time, it is inevitable that birds will peck and rain will fall. If there is any loss, it is difficult to explain, so I will repeatedly seek advice and let go as soon as possible with peace of mind. But after that night at the SPO family, no one from the village came back. Is it because of fear of fighting among the adults of the Himeji samurai, or is it because of other thoughts? Yi-in is hard to say. A few male attendants in the family are useless, and most men in this world are devoted to their wives and children, maintaining their own integrity. The ones that can be used are Yang Nai Xuanai. They need to be given some status and armed before they can go to the village to question and scold. Rural women fear power but not virtue, and Yin reluctantly understands. Although I am already as capable of fighting as women in this world, they just look down on men in their hearts. If you go, you may not pay attention. If you really kill a few leeway, I don't know if there will be any sequelae. After all, the current foundation is not yet stable, and stability prevails over everything. Taking advantage of these few days, he took a good rest and also had the energy to study his own system. This is a mute system, except for the electronic sound from the last time Nobuyoshi Oda was killed. There has been no subsequent sound since then. When I think of it in my mind, an interface does indeed appear. Killing value. 100 host. Spoi silver title. SPO family, pseudo, head of the family, without a woman's reputation, ridicule from behind far outweighs positive respect, strength. 5. Teacher Chiyu's training method makes your strength as strong as that of a woman, friendly reminder, even better for those who are bald, agility. 4. Wild boars are only slightly more agile than you, intelligence. 6. Your past life experiences give you an ordinary level of self-awareness that most people don't have, charm. 8. Can eat by face, legendary events, a history that later generations will enjoy watching. The Oath of 7 Difficulties and 8 Sufferings, SPO version. Your small thoughts have become an inspirational story passed down by people and resonate with a history that has not yet happened. Traditional martial artists with conservative personalities have a higher initial liking for a certain character, with a maximum initial liking. From a system perspective, the SPO family without female ding has lost mainstream recognition, and the bonus for the title of SPO family's young master has disappeared. I don't know if I'll feel ugly next time I meet Oda Nobunaga, Yoshihiro thought to herself. After textual analysis of the data, the number 5 should be the average value for women in this world. Because men are generally useless, Ian, who has reached strength 5, already has the strength standard for women. Agile should refer to flexibility and responsiveness, right? It is slightly lower than the average female population in this world. Intelligence above the average should be attributed to past life experiences, but it doesn't seem optimistic either. There are many smart women in this world who need to be more cautious and careful in their actions. Charm is now the most important attribute of oneself, right? No matter which society, appearance can be a source of food. I don't know what the comprehensive consideration of charm is. From the previous makeup and attire plus 2 points of charm, a large part of charm is considered in terms of appearance. That is to say, look at your face. Legendary events should be an additional bonus, divided beyond the 4 attributes. I didn't know much about Japan's warring states period in my past life, but Oda Nobunaga was an important part of Japan's warring states period. Following her should trigger several legendary events and enhance my legendary event bonuses. I don't know what the triggering conditions are. The 7 difficulties and 8 sufferings are Buddhist sayings, and Japanese Buddhism flourished. Borrowing the oath to revive the SPO family, one should have unintentionally done something that someone would do. Initial favorability max, I hope to be a powerful woman who can eat soft food on her own. I basically understand the interface, so the current problem is kill value. The killing value is obtained after killing Oda Nobuyoshi. So, if you want to get the killing value, you have to kill. This made Iin very uncomfortable in his heart, although he was mentally prepared for the fact that he had to kill someone in order to survive in a chaotic world. But killing someone recklessly in order to get help from the system goes against his personal values. He is not a mentally ill killer, killing for survival can convince himself. But in order to receive rewards from the system, he indiscriminately kills and harms innocent people, which seriously touches his bottom line as a person. And what is the use of killing value? I tried it, but none of the 4 attributes can be clicked. Cannot convert kill points into attributes to enhance one's own strength. So where is the killing value used? He carefully observed the interface and found that at the top, in the upper left corner of the interface window. Normal state with a movement in his heart, he carefully clicked on it and a drop-down menu appeared. Normal mode. Killing mode. Insight mode. Attempting to click on the kill mode with care, the electronic sound rang out once again. Should I switch to killing mode? Yes/no, consumes 1 kill value per second, originally, it was used in this way. After seeing that he only had a meager 100 kill points, Iin decided to click on the insight mode again. Convert to insight mode. Yes/no, consumes 1 kill value per second, so, the system has 2 special modes that require consuming 1 kill value per second to achieve. I don't know the specific content, but literally, the killing mode should be to improve one's combat effectiveness, while the insight mode should be to improve one's observation ability. Iin doesn't know if he's right or not, because the kill value is too low and only has 100 seconds to fully activate. Let's keep it for now. There won't be any danger on the battlefield yet, don't worry. I am only 14 years old and my body has not yet grown. Currently, my body level is only equivalent to that of an ordinary woman. Eating well and exercising well should make you stronger. While studying, Young Na has returned. Did you come back in just 2 days? Is 101 not enough to spend? Shouldn't it be? At the first moment when Yang returned, he met Iin, a standard earthy figure with an indescribable expression. Yang Nai, is things not going smoothly? No, Lord Iin, things are going very smoothly. I only stayed at the tavern under Qingzhou City for 1 night, and the next day the news spread. I was planning to visit several nearby cities again, but to my surprise, the news left faster than me, so I came back. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Yuanfu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Yuanfu. Regardless of whether it is ancient or modern, the working people love gossip. As long as the plot is full of ups and downs, the characters are rich and colorful, and we can chat with relish after tea and dinner. If there were no constraints of power, adding the names of several high-ranking officials would make the laboring masses even more excited. Oda Nobuyuki finally couldn't help but chop down SPO to protect the entire clan. Oda Nobunaga sent troops to fire Oda Nobunaga and even cut off his head. Did the young master of the SPO family exchange his body for reinforcements? What a disaster for beauty, it's so exciting to think about it. There is no need for Yang to rush around. After the autumn harvest, the boring farmers who had not been mobilized and the idle warriors who lacked discussion resources instantly ignited this big gossip among everyone. The news is spreading rapidly, and now it has left the county and spread to the entire Owari province. 1 month later, it is estimated that the Kyoto General's office will be able to chat about this latest gossip. The guardian boss SPO's family was overthrown by the official Iwatani Oda's family, and the Iwatani Oda's family was overthrown by the commoner Kyoshu Oda's family. The Oda family in Qingzhou annihilated their puppet, the SPO family, and were exterminated by Oda Nobunaga, who was a follower of their own family in Shimonoseki. What a chaotic drama full of etiquette and music, coupled with the peach embellishments of Prince SPO's sacrifice for his family, embodying a group of martial artists who don't let out long sighs at tea parties and banquets will appear to be isolated and unable to play happily with everyone. That oath of 7 difficulties and 8 hardships will also be praised by many upright and conservative traditional martial artists, wiping a tear of sympathy and bitterness for the young masters and husbands in their daughters. Anyway, the subsequent development can no longer be regretted by Oda Nobunaga. Iin can temporarily ignore her and focus on sorting out the family business of the SPO family. Yang Naishue, can I trust you? In the private room, shielded from outsiders, Iin looked at the 2 women seriously. 7 difficulties and 8 hardships for the revival of the SPO family. The 2 women knelt in front of Iin. I will dress you up today. Lord Iin. How can this be done? Yang was greatly shocked and pale. Yuanfu is a ritual for young martial women to become formal samurai warriors, where their elders tie their hair and wear a black hat, also known as the black hat kiss. As a servant, young Naishue is not qualified to wear yuan clothes because they are not martial artists. Since ancient times, the lineage of the samurai family has been monopolized by the Genji, Heiji, and their followers through marriage. The pillars of the Genji clan and the shogun of the Muromachi shogunate, Ashikaga Yoshimitsu, obtained the title of King of Japan from the Ming dynasty and massacred the entire family of the emperor and the court officials, except for the Takeda Fujiwara clan among the court officials. Although the world is chaotic now, what is chaotic is the martial arts world. If any farmer or servant dares to raise a flag and stand on their own, they will be besieged and attacked every minute to prevent future troubles. At the end of the day, people whose bloodline cannot be recognized are not qualified to become samurai class. The 3 families of Yuan, Hei, and Fujiwara dominate the world. What Iin is going to do now is too shocking for people in this world to even think about it. If the Oda family's Fujiki wants to make a name for himself, he must also join the samurai master's family to gain recognition of his identity. How could a servant like Yanaga Yukino become a samurai in his original attire? Iin certainly understood this truth. He waved his hand and said, "From today on, you will be Takata Yangnai and Takata Shue will be sisters. Takata's mother will serve the SPO family in Austria for generations, and will be a family minister." During the astronomical rebellion, Austria was exhausted and unable to support them, so some of its members were relocated to Owari to join the Spozong family. This time, the Owari family suffered a sudden disaster. "Although I am a male, I am also a parent, and I can justify it for you." Iin casually made up a set of arguments, and Yangnai squinted his eyes for a moment before asking. "Snow and I used to work as servants at home, and many people know about it. It's not surprising that many young retainers and daughters work as servants in the main household. Shue and I have never learned how to wield swords, guns, bows, horses, and iron cannons, so we cannot be considered warriors. I don't need you to go to the battlefield, what I need is a loyal family servant. You are intelligent and witty, and can help me sort out the household chores." Shue is stubborn and reserved, able to guard her territory and intimidate the fierce women in the village. Revival of the SPO family, I need your help. After speaking, Iin bowed to the two women and they quickly avoided each other. He also has no choice. In this world, women are more important than men. He needs some female servants from the SPO family. Ability doesn't matter, what's important is loyalty. He needs time to exercise, learn martial arts, and embark on a career path. He cannot be too focused on household chores. It would be best to entrust it to Yangnai Shue, as long as the issue of identity is resolved. Now it depends on whether the two women have the courage. This matter is too shocking and shocking. Once exposed, all three of them cannot escape the word death. This can also be considered as insurance, and from then on, the three of them were completely tied together, increasing trust. However, on the contrary, it is because it is too shocking that no one will doubt it. Yang nodded hesitantly, as if agreeing with Yin's approach. Snow beside her still had a cold expression, and she would do whatever Yin asked her. So after a simple hairband and hat ceremony, the two Himeji samurai from the Takata family were freshly unveiled. From now on, Takata Yoshino and Takata Yukino have been serving the Owari family, holding the position of light-footed head, and the position of 15 guan 30 shirt. I pledge my loyalty to the SPO family to the death, and I dare not slack off in receiving favors from the public. Both sides have fulfilled their vows and become closer emotionally, with some martial arts clothing still stored at home. Iin also gave it to him. He had previously learned swords and spears from his family's samurai, but because his son was not valued and educated by his family's samurai. Hurry up and teach some tricks to the two ignorant novice samurai, at least to deceive the foolish women in the village. After tossing around like this for 2 days, I noticed that the two women looked a bit different, and it was time to go to the village. Walking downstream along the creek, there are small mountain paths that pedestrians have stepped on along the way. The three of them were all wearing hunting clothes, with swords hanging around their waists. Yang Nua occasionally twists and turns his waist, not accustomed to this outfit. On the contrary, Snow had a cold and composed face, exuding the dignity of a cold-blooded samurai. Yang Nai, who is the land of the village? How are you usually? The land is called Xiaoyi Nv, the largest landlord in the village, with nearly 20 relatives in her family, making her a prominent figure in the village. She usually comes home with respect and is a cautious old woman. I haven't seen her visit and greet me these days, maybe it's so respectful, right? You'll be responsible for negotiating later. As the village progressed, Iin stopped speaking and Yang nodded. After the autumn harvest, the village atmosphere is cheerful. This year's harvest is good, and there is no mobilization for war. The villagers all want to have a good winter. The children were frolicking and running around, while the men sat together doing handicrafts and jokingly talking. Women either sleep in their rooms or gather on the roadside drinking inferior homemade wine. Some of the light feet of farmers and soldiers were tidying up their bamboo armor and hats, polishing the burrs on their bamboo spears. Seeing 3 samurai entering the village entrance, the voice of the village slowly lowered, and others hurriedly walked inside. Iin didn't say anything, just stood at the village entrance, staring at the thatched cottage in the distance in a daze. Soon, a thin and black old woman ran over with several peasant women looking like servants. The young lady pays her respects to the 3 samurai lords. "May I ask if there is anything I can do for you? Little girl, are you getting impatient with your life? What happened to this year's autumn harvest? No one has reported it to the warehouse yet. In front of you is the new head of the SPO family, SPO Iin. Kneel down." Yang tilted his eyes and fiercely reprimanded in his tone. The young woman knelt down, her back curved from years of hard work, and she threw herself on the ground with a strange curve. "I'm wrongly accused, sir. It's not that there was a lot of fireworks on the master's side a few days ago, and the sound of gunfire in the middle of the night could be heard clearly in the village. Thinking about some things to do at home, I don't know how well we've done. We lowly people dare not approach. This is not waiting for the master's orders to do things well." Yang Nai looked at her respectful and fearful expression and said, "My master has nothing to do. Today, I will send someone to put the grain into storage, and I will personally supervise it. Yes, I don't know how to address adults. The SPO family has light feet and high head, and Tian Yang is the one below. Please take a closer look. If you dare to make any mistakes, my sword will not have eyes." Yes, but... The young woman raised her head slightly, her small eyes rolling in her eyes. "I heard that the young master of the SPO family is called Lord Iin. Could it be that this is bold? Can you also ask about the master's affairs? Be honest and do your job well." "I dare not dare to. I just feel that. The young master of Iin, Jinji Yuye. How could these household chores allow the young master's family to come forward? This kind of rough thing still needs to be watched by the female lead at home, isn't that the case?" Yang Nai's eyebrows furrowed, and before he could utter his angry rebuke, Xuanai drew his sword and chopped at Xiao Yi's head lying on the ground. End of this chapter.